Welcome back, everyone. I thought I would take a bit of time to discuss some of the possible ramifications of this new conflict in Iran, you know, World War III, and its impacts on some markets. Now, I was kind of surprised that certain things have reacted as much as they have, but obviously some people are very concerned about what's happened, and you can see that in markets. Now I'll discuss what I think should be real, shouldn't be real, and all that. So first off, if it wasn't obvious by my tone when I introduced this video, my view is that this is not the beginning of World War III. I have no idea if this was going to be a one-off kind of brush up or will be an extended conflict. I don't really think it's going to spill over to many markets. That being said, so I don't think this is a reason to panic. That being said, it is kind of ironic that some of the markets that are discussed most on this channel are some that are potentially on the front lines for escalation. So if I don't think that this is a big event and is really not as much as the market's making a deal of, am I buying the dip? So here's the tricky part for me. Not yet, because I don't think it's a big deal and I do think the markets will recover. However, if you look at the CNN Fear Greed Index on Thursday, it closed almost the exact opposite of 1 year ago when it was 2 or 3 on December 24th. It closed at 97 out of 100 in terms of greed. Now, this isn't a be-all end-all, but there was a definite super rally going on, and sentiment was stretched, and the rally also was stretched, and that was Thursday. Now, Friday, after all of the, I'm going to use air quotes here when I say panic, the index moved all the way down to 93. So my point is it's still very high. Now, of course, this isn't the only thing to watch, but I do think that if the fear escalates, we could see a quick move down a few percent. I'm not saying that we're going to crash. I don't think we're going to crash, but we can move down quickly a few percent. And if that happens, I'm going to watch and see if it looks like it's going slowly and will have legs, or going quickly and won't have legs, or some combination thereof. And hopefully take the opportunity, if it looks right or wrong, or whatever you want to call it, to add to some sectors, particularly the ones that are market relevant or higher beta, I guess you could say. Now, when looking at specific markets, I wanted to start with gold because this really, really annoys me. Again, I am a long-term bull in gold, especially where we were before. Where we were before this happened, I thought that gold had a decent chance of testing the old high and breaking out. And now, instead, people are suddenly finding a reason to buy gold, and well, because of concern and because of big jump, and myself, along with the equities and the whole market, is skeptical of the move and think and I think that it will probably retrace to the breakout point at some point and test it, or not not move. Now, that being said, I I think the stocks, when you look at the movement on Friday, were clearly skeptical about what's going on, because about the reason for buying gold. You look, gold was up what, 20 something bucks, and then you look at stocks, which were, by the way, at a point where especially the GDXJ was at a point where it was trying to break out, testing a breakout, and failing. They opened higher, closed lower, and this was on a day gold was up 20 bucks. That's, a very disbelieving in the spike in the price of gold. And so I feel like justified in my skepticism to an extent in that, if it is the end of the world, the gold stocks are not wanting to break out. When the futures opened on Sunday, gold was up a bunch more. Now it's up about 25 bucks more now. It did touch 1590 and I was rolling my eyes when I saw that. Not because I don't think gold is gonna be at, I don't know, maybe 2000 one day, maybe higher. No, I do. I just am not a believer that this is what gets us there. And I think that in the coming days, this week, maybe on Monday, the uh, the action of the gold stocks will be very, very interesting because I think that if gold keeps going much higher, then the stocks will want to move in sympathy, even if they don't believe in the move. That being said, we're at a technical point where there should be some increased selling in the gold stocks. Um, Not increased selling. I'm not saying it's going to go down. I'm just saying it's going to fight with going higher. And so in the past, I remember on things like this, often the gold stocks will track the gold higher, but less so because less so than their leverage would indicate. So we'll have to see if people are believing that this is for real, and then if as it tempers down, which I believe it will people sell off gold, which is kind of my base case at this point. So Iran's first way of making trouble for the world, I guess, is its claim now that it won't abide by the new or by the 2015 enrichment deal and it will enrich its uranium as much as it sees fit. Now, while I don't think this is going to cause imminent issues for the uranium market, I do think that this is going to put increased pressure on US politicians to quit granting waivers for the sanctions or add more sanctions or basically more strictly enforce them. And I don't think this is going to touch Kazatomprom or the production side of U308. So in that way, I don't think it will have a direct impact. But there are certain entities like Rosatom who could be more impacted, and this is more in the enrichment game and enrichment conversion, but the fuel cycle. And so this could have some serious knock-on effects with regards to procuring the fuel through the fuel cycle. And ironically, the utilities in the US are the ones that are most likely to be hurt by this. And I'm not sure if they care or the politicians who are um, putting on the sanctions notice or cared that much. But I do think that the utilities are the ones on the front end of the danger here, the U.S. utilities. And ironically, they're some of the least covered in terms of fuel and U308 and whatever going forward. So this could be a wake-up call for them to start thinking about contracting and maybe refilling some inventory, maybe not. But the point is the uranium price at this point through 2 days of this conflict, even through the announcement that Iran is not going to follow their promised restrictions or whatever, it doesn't care. If you look at the price action, the bids weren't raised. I mean, it's flat. So at this point, it doesn't think it's an issue. I don't think it's an issue. I think that we've yet to see some action that would make me think, okay, this is going to be a big deal. Now, if Iran really wanted to disrupt the world and make everyone feel the discomfort and the sting, maybe to an effect, what they would want to do is disrupt the Strait of Hormuz. And if they could get their ally, if they could get Yemen to close the Red Sea, well, then you'd come to a point where the only way uh, for oil to get out of Saudi Arabia would be through the Suez Canal. And for those who are not super familiar, you look at a map, it's fairly simple. But that would mean that any oil going to India and China and that region would have to go through the Mediterranean Sea and all around Africa instead of just through the strait. Now, this could be a problem, although in fairness, the ones impacted would be not the ones most impacted, at least, would be India and China and the countries in that region that were importing oil. And I'm not sure that that's what's going to happen because I'm not sure that that is who Iran wants to upset. I think they more so probably would be looking for a way that would impact the Americans. And that's why I'm not sure that this will be their path. Now, if this were to happen, the shipping rates would probably go crazy. They'd probably break in certain ways. I'd expect the Suez Max would be valued more at a premium because oil, some oil's got to get out somewhere. And as I mentioned, I think I mentioned, the UK sent ships to the to the Straits of Hormuz in order to escort tankers through the region. Now, as much as this guarantees stability to an extent, it also guarantees that things will probably go slower because it's probably much less efficient to move through the straits while being escorted rather than just going through. So we'll have to see how this impacts rates and shipping, but it has the potential to just go absolutely crazy if Iran tried to do what I suggested or some variant upon in order to really get their payback on a global scale. So that's worth watching. So that's all for today. All I really wanted to say in terms of what should be kept an eye on with regards to this conflict. Now, I'm sure there's a few other things that I didn't say that are probably relevant, but at this point, it's probably still early to suggest that there's going to be big problems. But these are a few of the big problems that could arise. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.